Alright guys, so checking out a watch from a brand that I haven't checked out for quite a while. So this is the Aerotec Black Label Wave Diver. They offer some really interesting dial colours but also materials with this one as well. If you haven't seen the previous one that I checked out, it was a while back, I'll leave links up on the top here and also down in the description. Getting back to this one though, it's really tough deciding which one to get in for review, but I finally decided on this one. But I don't think you can really go wrong with any of them, they all look great. So I'll briefly show you the packaging. This is the outer box it comes in. And if we open this up, you'll get this nice little card in here saying thank you for buying it. Obviously this is a loan piece, so it's not going to have all the details that you'll get in the proper thing. Here's the warranty card. And as I said, loan piece, so it's not assigned. You do only get a 1-year warranty on this, which is a little unfortunate. 2 would have been better. I always like to see at least 2 years really. And then we've got the watch roll that comes in, with the logo and the branding on there. Always nice to have a watch roll in the package and not just a useless box. And then here is the watch. So I think it's a really good looking piece. It's got that kind of retro feel to it. And some really interesting dial finishes as well. As I say, some are stone finishes, some are these kind of textured ones, but they all look really cool I think. So this one I have here is Amazonite, which is a first for me. Not checked out another watch on the channel that uses that for a dial. There's some other different stone ones and also the textured ones as well. But before we go into any more detail, first of all let's go over the dimensions. So we've got a diameter of 39mm, thickness of 13.2, lug width of 20, and then the all important lug to lug is coming in at 45.9. Then when it comes to the weight on this supply bracelet, with all the links included, it's coming in at 150 grams, and size for my 7-inch wrist is coming in at about 141. So let's take a closer look at that now, starting with the clasp. So we've got that Aerotec logo on there, polished chamfered edges. We've got no micro adjust, double pushers, milled clasp, and then because we don't have any micro adjust, you probably figured out, yep, we've got an on the fly adjustable clasp, so that's always good to see. The more I use watches with these, the harder it is to go back to one that doesn't have them. When it comes to the case back, we've got an interesting design on this. So we've got that kind of wave pattern on the crystal. You can also see as well, we've actually got quick release spring bars, which is a nice touch. So if you do want to swap out the bracelet for something else, you can do quickly and easily. You'll also see on there we've got the Miyota 9039 and the fact that it's 300 meter water resistance as well. But we'll get into all that a bit later on, talk about that in a bit more detail. But now we'll move on to the head of the watch and talk about that, because there's some interesting design touches on there. So you can see we've got that wave pattern carried on the side of the case. I know some people might not like that. I normally prefer them clear and with nothing on, but I think this kind of works. And it's not like they've just written the brand name on there like some other brands do. We've got a satin crown there, and when it comes to the case finishing, it's fully brushed, same with the bracelet. And we have got push pins on that. The only polishing we've got is on that bezel, but we have actually got drilled lugs as well as having that quick release bracelet. But now let's get onto the dial, because that is the star of the show with this one, no matter which version you go for. So I really like the way they've done this dial. As well as having that really interesting dial material, we've also got applied indices and an applied logo. I really appreciate that they don't put the brand name on there as well. You don't need both, the logo is just fine. The less text on the dial for me the better. In fact, the only text we've actually got on their dial at all is down either side of that 6, and that's just the water resistance rating, which again is 300 meters. And I do really like the way they've done the 3, 6 and the 9, the way they kind of draw your eye into the centre of the dial. When it comes to the handset, that's also pretty interesting too, as that hour hand is actually the Aerotec logo. So I think that works pretty nicely, something a bit different as well. And we've got nice proportions on all of the hands too. And then we've got that inner rotating bezel. And because of that crystal being a double dome, you get the really nice bit of distortion on that, which I really love. I know some people don't, but I think with this retro kind of styling, it works perfectly. And we have got an ever so slight blue tinge on the AR. Obviously depending on which dial you go for, whether you go for one of the stone ones or the more textured ones, there's a lot more going on with the more textured one on the actual dial itself. I personally really like the look of that orange one as well, but let me know down in the comments which would you be going for. Taking a closer look at this Amazonite one though, you can see the little details on there, just obviously because it is stone, each one is going to be unique. So you can see those little flecks of yellow in this one. I just think it's a really smart looking piece. The colours they've gone for match the dials perfectly I think, no matter which one you go for. But now let's check whether this crystal in here is actually sapphire or not, and we'll also be testing the one on the back too, using the trusty Diamond Selector 2. And yep, we have got sapphire on the front, and also on the back, which is always good to see, not always a given. So now let's get onto the movement. So as I said, it's the Miyota 9039, which is the no date specific version of the 9015. So if we unscrew the crown, nice grippy crown, nice size as well. And then if we flick it over to the back, you can actually see we have got that little red ring on there, so you will be able to tell if you've got it unscrewed, so you don't accidentally leave it unscrewed if you go swimming or anything. So because it's the no date specific movement, we just have the one position, no ghost date. So pop it out, second hand stops, go hacking, and then we can just change the time. And then pop it back in, and the second hand will re-engage. All works well, hand winding as well, and then obviously just screw it back down. Again, really easy to do. Now getting onto the other crown, that is also screwed down as well. Not always the case with these kind of inner rotating bezels. And then once you unscrew it, that is free to move. And obviously it's bi-directional. So really nice smooth action on it. No movement at all. Doesn't wobble or anything. And when it comes to setting it, you can get that precisely, push it in, screw it down. Doesn't move at all. With some of these inner rotating bezels, trying to screw it back down without moving it can be a little bit awkward sometimes. But as I say, no issues with this one whatsoever. So you're probably wondering now, what's the Lume like on this? So let's check that out now, see if that's just as good as everything else so far. So you can see we've got a bit there already, but let's charge it up, give it a proper chance. And there we go. So as you can see, we've got that ice blue colour of the BGW9, and we've actually got quite a lot of it, at least initially. But you can already see that there is a bit of a discrepancy between the hand's indices and that inner rotating bezel, which is to be somewhat expected, given we have got applied indices, and obviously that inner rotating bezel is all just printed. So there's just not as much surface area to be playing with to actually get a Lume on there. And the same goes for that minute track, which is also Lume surprisingly, but that is more consistent with the inner rotating bezel as opposed to the applied indices and hands. But there's no patchiness at all. So hands and indices looking really good. But the question is that inner rotating bezel going to fade completely once we speed this up? And how is the rest of it going to hang on? So let's find out now. So not too much of a change with the hands and the indices, but that bezel is beginning to fade pretty quickly. And if we go on a little bit longer, you're pretty much not going to be able to see that at all, which is a bit of a shame. It would have been nice if they'd at least been able to get that triangle on that inner rotating bezel as bright as the indices, just so it was a bit more usable. But in terms of the rest of the Lume on the hands and the indices, still not patchy at all, still just as bright pretty much. Going to last you a really good amount of time, no issues with that bit. So you're probably wondering now, how much is all this going to cost you? So this was initially on Kickstarter, where it was successfully funded, but they've actually still got it on a bit of a discount on the website, because it's on a somewhat pre-order, which is stating on the website that the estimated delivery is going to be February, so not really that much for pre-order, but you're still getting a good discount. So the discounted price at the moment is coming in at $479, which is about £388, about €459. So if you do want to pick one of these up, I'd be pretty quick about it, just in case you do miss out on that price, because the price does jump up quite a bit after that. After that sale price, it's going to be $699, £566, €670. So as I say, pretty significant price increase. But before you make up your mind whether you do want to pick one of these up or not, you probably want to see what it's like on wrist, and also we'll go over the pros and cons as well. Because it is a good watch, yeah, but it's not perfect. There are a few little bits that I would change, and obviously that price is going to play a part as well. So if you get it on that sale price, it's going to be better. And here it is on my 7-inch wrist. So I think it does wear really nicely, and I do really like the look overall as well. And with that on the fly adjustable clasp, you can get the perfect fit. And I do like that it is just the logo on there, not the actual brand name. Same goes for the dial. Do really appreciate having that just applied logo. If it was up to me, that'd be the same for every brand. Wears really nicely on wrist with that nice compact lug to lug and a bit of curvature to the lugs as well as those female end links. I know some people might not like that wave design. I actually don't mind it. Something I do really love though is that distortion you get from that double dome sapphire crystal. And again, it's good that we've got sapphire on both front and back. We've also got that nice quick release bracelet, so if you're doing a swap it out you can do quickly and easily, as well as drilled lugs, so if you're doing a swap out the strap that you're putting it on and it doesn't have quick release, again you'll be able to do it quickly and easily. I also appreciate that we've got that screw down crown on the inner rotating bezel as well, so you don't accidentally knock it. But the star of the show with these is definitely those dials. Whether you go for a stone one or just one of those textured ones, they all look really good, especially in those really nice vibrant colours they've got as well. It's also nice that they went with the no date specific Miyota 9039. When it comes to issues though, I know some people might have an issue with that wave design on the side of the case, as well as that thickness. I do kind of agree with the thickness one. Having that Miyota 9000 movement, you could have got it thinner. I think personally I would have preferred if it was just 200 meter water resistance to get that case thickness down a bit, because you're not realistically going to be using this as a diver, especially with that fairly poor lume on the inner rotating bezel as well. So it's going to be more for just swimming or more of a desk diver. So if you shave off that 100 meters, make it 200, and then get the case thickness down, I think that'd be better. Or if you are going to keep it at 300 meter water resistance, you need to improve that lume on the inner rotating bezel, or at the very least on that triangle on the inner rotating bezel, just so it is actually usable. But the question is, overall, would I recommend this watch? Do I think the positives outweigh the negatives? In my opinion, yeah, they do. If you're not going to be using it for diving, and that's not what you want, you just want a really good looking watch with some really nice specs, then this fits the bill. You can still go swimming with it, but I just wouldn't recommend it obviously for diving. But that comes with the caveat of if you get it at that reduced price. Once that price goes back up to the full price, I don't know if I would be able to recommend this for those little slight issues. I think it's just a bit too much, but let me know. What do you think? But that's it for this one, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.